Meta Podcast, episode 125. Joining me as always, Marco and Adam. Marco, otherwise known as Taco. How are you doing this week?
Thank you, kind sir. Doing very well. I honestly been busy. Been busy with non-DotA related stuff in the realm of entrepreneurship. Been founding a boosting service company this last week. I think it's there's going to be two elements. It's going to be a solo ranked boost and a party rank boost. I'm going to sign Stan up. He doesn't know it yet, but you're going to be the co-founder with me for this party rank boost service. If anyone wants to pay us a healthy fee, I'm sure we'll do it. Can't lose.
Nice. I was worried for a second now. I thought you were actually spending your free time on actual entrepreneurship for the future, and glad that it's actually just DotA. But bit of foreshadowing for the games, maybe. Get the boosting service going, because it seems like it's a winner at the moment. Joining me also, Adam, otherwise known as Come Dine With Me. How are you this week?
I'm founding a de-boosting service. So, if you ever need to, if you feel like your rank's too high, you need to go down. You can come over onto Come Down With Me's Lost Hut. That's what we'll call it. I don't know. Yeah. I haven't, this is like a new idea.
Also,
I
feel
fleshed
like
out as Marco's business plan.
I feel like I'm part of that as well. I'm part of both. Based on today's games with Adams, I'm part of the deboosting service, a valuable core member of the service. So, yeah. Today's ep, we've got unfinished business from last week, really, some questions to answer. Questions that include talking about POS 4 in general, in terms of the meta, the heroes, and I suppose however we want to take that, and talking about map movements as a POS 3, so basically what you want to be doing post-laning stage as a POS 3. Obviously, both of those topics are endless chasms of conversation, so I don't know how we'll take them. We'll basically just try and answer the question that was asked specifically. And then also, we'll touch on maybe the new Overwatch that's been added, drafting and picking as a support that will probably be mentioned in the POS 4 talk. And then we'll take it from there. We have maybe a couple of other small questions if we're struggling for time. We don't usually struggle for time at New Meta Podcast, but we will see. First things first, trivia for Marco Taco. Are you aware of what Huskar Aghanim Scepter does? Do you know what Huskar's Aghanim Scepter does?
So you're leading me to believe it's been changed in recent times. Is that true? It's changed in the last month.
I don't know about the last month. It's definitely different to how it was, yeah.
My feeling is that does it increase the damage, increase the cast range, decrease the cooldown of his ultimate life break?
So I believe that's what it used to do. It's not what it does anymore.
Honestly, I swear there was
one component. It does still increase cast range. That is one thing it does.
Is it like a mega big disarm AoE thing? I don't even know what that spell's called.
Inner Fire, that's his Q.
Is that his Q, where he does an AoE pop?
AoE pop, yeah. The old, whatever it used to be called, life heal or whatever, the green heal thing.
Oh, is that what got replaced?
Yeah,
honestly, I know Husker from like 5 years ago, that's it. That hero's too dirty to look at.
Well, the reason I ask is because I was playing a game today and I was playing Pugner, and I think Pugner's pretty good against Huskar. I certainly felt like it was good in this game. I didn't know what Ags did, and there's a team fight where Huskar goes on me. I think brilliant. I want Huskar to go at me. I have decrep. It's such a wasted initiation for him. I'm just spamming my Yules so I can Yules myself up in the air and decrep and stuff, buy some time. I'm spamming Yules. I'm like, I can't Yules. What's going on? I'm like crying to Adam. I'm like, Adam, I was pressing Yules. I promise I was pressing Yules. And I couldn't do it. And we were like, oh, that's so weird. I have no idea. Must have misclicked. And I just thought, yeah. I sort of gaslighted myself and created a reality where I'd misclicked Yules. Then it happened again. And at that point, Adam helpfully said, oh, it's the Ags. It's a taunt. When he uses Life Break, you're forced to attack Huskar. Very rough. I did not know that, and it cost us, well, one of many factors that cost us a one game that we were about 25k up in or something.
Wait, when he ults you, he taunts you?
Yes. I'm not sure how long the taunt lasts, but it's longer than Berserker's Call, so it's quite a long taunt.
God, is it? Wow, that's like a massive lockdown then, that you then pummel someone's face after you've just completely locked them down because they can't spell or item.
Stan's sitting there with the Yules and a Stormcrafter. He's got double Tornado. Can't use either of them.
Wow.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate. But yeah, that's what Huskar Ags does. I didn't know until today.
Rough.
Yeah, rough indeed. I'll tell you what isn't rough, though. Some of our other games. Marco, are you using this week as marketing, advertisement for the boosting service? Do you want to tell us how it's been going?
Boosting service, indeed. I mean, the party rank games me and Stan have played, tragically, they both took 53 minutes, which is insane, because one of the games was the most stacked lineup ever. I mean, the stars aligned for us because we had this rank 2k Immortal with 200 wins on his account on our team, so as soon as we saw that, me and Stan are pumped, like, yeah, this is going to be good. But even at the end of the game, the ranks I felt were a bit imbalanced. Having said that, it still took us 53 minutes to end, 24 kills on me in total. The game just was, chaotic. So yeah, me and Stan played 2. I got to enjoy Stan's POS 5 Monka S. Definitely not as...
MVP performance.
Honestly, we need to go back to the chalkboard with Stan's POS 5. We need to get Adam to teach him what to do in the lane. That could be helpful.
Yeah.
Having said that...
Yeah, we can recap our 2 games we played today after you...
Did you have to endure a Stan 5?
There was a Stan 5 that happened. His lane partner might have bought a Shadow Amulet and sat in the trees.
Oh, no.
And I might have got to test out the Overwatch ability, the new report system. So
the laning stage was over by the time he Shadow Amuleted in base, and I got first blood in the lane. So I'm blaming this Wraith King completely. And I got MVP in this game that Marcus claiming me for yesterday.
Yeah, true.
Gaben knows. Yeah. This is 24k hero damage. I have more hero damage than our POS 4 Spirit Breaker, which actually was a grief. And then also I have the same hero damage as our POS 3 CK. So I'm doing bits in this game. I'm switcherooing. I've got a Lotus Orb flying around, getting picks. Unbelievable.
Yes, Stan's 5 is fantastic from the mid game onwards because you play it with such aggression and you use spells and it's great. But yeah, the first 10 minutes in the lane... yeah. Well, could be improved.
Also, to my defense, though, I think the what caused the lane to be significantly worse than it needed to be was we're DotA, Adams, in the safe lane, and I'm pulling the hard camp up, directly up. So to sort of where the tower is, you can pull it like that way, and I pull. And as I'm walking to the tower, the trees regrow, blocking the pull. And that was such a detriment to our game. And I'm blaming trees regrowing for not my ability to play 5.
I was tearing up silently because we were 2v1. I'm Ursa, Stan's Doc against a Timbersaw. And the lane equilibrium just would not reset. And I felt like about 4 creep waves came and went... where I'm like, Stan, we got a pull coming anytime soon. Like, just constantly, the creeps going into Timber's tower. I'm like, we need to get this equilibrium back. This is not acceptable. Not the best laning.
The laning, there's definitely room for improvement.
Yeah,
but I'm just delighted to get a win on POS 5 when I play rounds, because I need them for the roll queue tokens. Although, outrageously, I only get 2 from this game, and Marco gets 2 as well, even though he played POS 1. So,
yes.
Not sure about that, but...
So, I mean, shout out to your MVP doc, actually, and there's a couple of people in the Discord that were pretty keen to see you get Oh, well, they got MVP docked themselves, so a bit of a trend at the moment, which is cool. But yeah, I played another pause 1 with Stan as a troll, another 53-minute game, another 25 kills. That one was pretty... I mean, it just felt like the team... Maybe... Was this the Sanking one? No, that was another game. I don't know why this one took forever. This felt quite tense for some reason. You played a good puck. We had this pause 3 silencer that was a bit useless, but was a high rank. I'm not sure why this one took forever to end, but again, pretty solid pause 1 I felt. And then the rest of the week has been cleaning up some more Void Spirit. Haters gonna hate, i.e. Stan. Claiming that I'm not a Void Spirit player. Dust off 3 wins, 1 loss.
All I'm saying is, whenever I go to spectate you playing Void Spirit, you're always like 6th net worth, and your one's like carrying the game. That's what I'm seeing.
I mean, that's the sign of a good mid, though, when...
I can get behind that.
When you're like, yeah, you're struggling, but you still find that impact, or... Because I did struggle, yeah, in a couple of the games. I lost against a Visage mid. That was a bit sad. And then, yeah, another game. I'm 4-5-11 at the end of a 41-minute game. The stats are horrendous, but it was some crazy PMA turnaround win. So I don't know, it's just going well, and yeah, the pause 1, pause 2 lifestyle. You mocked me last week for saying I'm a mid player after I had 2 mid wins. Dynamic mocked me yesterday when I picked Quap, and he had 0 belief. Got MVP then. So, I mean, the haters are flying at me, but they're also getting bounced back. 7k, here we go.
Well,
smiley face.
There you go, Marco's boosting service in full force, despite any doubters. That's good to hear. Adam, I don't know how many games you played, because I don't know if today's games are worth talking about.
I played 3, including the 2 today.
Nice, and they were good, were they?
The 2 today, one was half good. Maybe even 3/4 good.
Throw, yeah.
And then it went downhill. So I had sold all of those DotA items. I had built up that little bank, and I had put in like a buy order on that Dire Tide sniper set, and I was just waiting for someone to sell it to me, for it to drop in price. And it did. I woke up one morning, I had the email, I was like, let's go. Spaceman Sniper. So the first game I played with that was pretty good. You were not in that game. But how do you feel about middle sniper going this build of Phase Boot, Mage Slayer, Hurricane Pike, Witchblade, Molineer, Abyssal Blade?
This is for Marco, because I was in this game.
Yeah, I've
sorry, yeah. You were. So I'm not used to seeing this get a lobe of this name.
Yeah, questionable. But no, I spoke to Adam about this build, and it did raise eyebrows. I think Mage Slayer in the right game would be really good, but I think in a game where the only magic damage on the enemy team is a pos 5 Ogre is not really good. And then Hurricane Pike, yep, you're against a Ricky, makes sense. Witchblade, feels like a grief.
I think it's a decent item on Sniper. He's got good int game.
I swear people overrate this passive Witchblade doing... I mean, how much int are you really doing every 9 seconds? How much damage is in?
Attack speed, too.
35 attack speed. It's like a glove of haste. It's only 2.6k, but give you some armor, sniper.
Projectile speed.
You can't sell me Witchblade on Sniper, full stop. So, that's a grief. Then Mjolnir, not a grief. Abyssal, mild grief. And then Leveler
so the enemy team has Troll, Ricky, and then a Nature's Prophet. So, normally I would get Treads, but you gotta get Phase Boots against Nature's Prophet now, because of the Ag Shard.
Yeah, true.
Then Hurricane Pike, you have to get because of Nature's Prophet and Ricky. And then Molineer, you have to get because of all the Treants because he was going the degenerate build of just like dying over and over, but he's pushing lanes. And then the Viscel Blade was for Troll, which was there's no better feeling than he pops his ult and you range bash him.
That is nice. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to give you I'm not giving a 5-star rating.
And add the Ag Shard for the grenade and disarm and another movement ability.
That I think is cool for the disarm. I've never seen it in a game or built it, but that sounds very cool for not much cost.
The grenade is cool.
If you got a Ricky or Troll on you, even a Fury on, you disarm them for quite a good few seconds.
What about this Sand King going boots BOT Crimson Guard and only has 1,000 less damage?
That's a grief because you had no mana ever.
Yeah.
How many times did you you would TP in and you're like, I can't cast any spells. I got no mana for anything.
Oh my god, I don't know what's worse, someone not casting spells or someone near you unable to cast spells because they've not managed the mana resource. Yeah, it's pretty tilting, not gonna lie. There are 5 couriers in the game. Mangoes and carries exist. There's no excuse.
I've never seen Marco happier than in the ranked game where I played Witch Doctor and we were pushing high ground at I just shipped like 7 mangoes on my courier and I just mangoed everyone like a bunch and he was like, oh, this is support gameplay. It's just great.
World class, yeah. Kept us going, it was so good.
World class mango buying. Yeah, very strong. My games, I've got a little mini climb, little cheeky climb. I've gone for a 5-hero strategy. My true love, Lena, has been ditched in favour of the sort of well, how do you call it? A trio, but with 5? A quintro? I don't even know. But a quartet? Quintet? That's it, isn't it?
Yes, a quintet.
Yeah, well, there you go. My quintet of best friends, Meepo, Puck, TA, Viper, and Pugner. And so far, so good. A couple of ranked wins with Marco, as mentioned, and then a very nice Pugner win. Meepo can't lose at the moment, it feels like. Even though Meepo's not in a very good position in the meta, is not a particularly strong hero, the win rate's not very good. And then Puck is obviously a very strong hero. I've been having success there. A very fun unranked TA game where I had Bloodthorn, Nullifier, and Swift Blink, so it's like a Doom, basically. I was just dooming people, and that was a very fun game yesterday. Beyond that, not a lot to report, but the percentage climbs to Divine 2, so I'm hoping to get there. Maybe the weekend or something, we'll see. If I can put some games together, we'll see. Before we go to the first question, let's maybe take a second on this Overwatch system that's been added. Where is it and how does it even work? I've seen obviously the score screen. Who sees these replays? Is it something online? It doesn't appear to be in client.
Is it just you enter the client and you've got a golden ticket message from Valve waiting saying you're the chosen one to review a match for us?
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
That's what I got from it.
I have no idea. I didn't see the post, but I did see the new report system in the game. Being able to do it in the game is really nice because so many people, I think, just forget about it after. They try and get out of the game as fast as possible, and then they exit the game or whatever, exit the post game, and then you can't report anymore. And you're like, oh, that person got away with it. But it was really nifty. And I was just so lucky that I was able to test it in my second game after it came out. You can just report Wraith King for griefing, and then it says, when did it occur? And you can say just now, 1 minute ago, or 5 minutes ago. And I had, I remembered it about 5 minutes after he started sitting there. I was like, oh, this is perfect. So you kind of timestamp the replay for him to start looking.
Yeah. Hopefully that Wraith King will be someone's golden ticket, because I reported him as well. Also, you can report them twice, which is quite funny, because you can still report them in the post-game. So I did that to this Wraith King that griefed us after about 12 minutes. So, Yeah, interesting. I'll see how that goes. See what people think about it. Only Valve will be able to tell, I suppose, how effective it is. Or maybe we'll have some sort of numbers about the number of people being found out or whatever. Who knows about that kind of thing? And what actually happens to the people when they're found guilty by the golden ticket person? Do they get low prio like normal, or...?
There was something about them being muted. Then maybe low prio, or if not, if they join games, they're pre-muted by Valve. This was one of the features.
Right. Interesting.
So you can choose to unmute them, or you can just keep them muted, and Valve has told you that this person's been kind of marked as a negative.
Yeah, that's interesting, because there was someone in our game today that was muted already for me and Adam and for everyone else on our team. So,
but it is kind of weird because it's still not that harsh a punishment, just having someone pre-muted, because you can unmute them still and they can still be annoying. So I'm not super certain.
Oh, is that what happened? Like, we played that game and my lane partner was pre-muted. You're saying that's not me?
Yeah.
Having pre-muted him, it's now like a punishment?
It's one of the two, but it sounds like...
So he was pre-muted for me, and also someone else on our team said, "Is Rubik muted for anyone else?" ? So
yeah.
No, that was the guy on the other team.
Oh.
The Enigma on the other team was like, "Is Enigma..." Or he said, "Is Rubik muted?" Or is he just in low prio? It's like, oh. Yeah. Well, that guy, he deserved it from the way his behavior in that game.
I mean, just for picking Rubik Pos 3, I feel like that warrants...
Well, I picked Techies.
Yeah, that's true.
Rubik's not a lane partner with Techies, I will say that.
Yeah, not a bit of Fade Bolt, level up Fade Bolt, and then blast off in with the Fade Bolt for big nukes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Let's go to first question then. Marco, I'm going to give you the choice of Talk Shop position 4, and I can elaborate on that because it's basically an all-encompassed question about Pos 4. Map movements as Pos 3, so basically taking that as what you want to do on the map post-laning on Pos 3. Or about changes to picking and drafting and basically playing support, small items, picking, and when you should block the enemy's pool camp in either lane as a support. So
the when you should block the enemy's pole camp as a support, I mean, it's something I noticed when I watched, say, Crit stream, or some really, really high level player stream, and you'll notice them doing camp blocking stuff. And I see them, they'll creep skip, pull the creep wave, pull the creep wave such that the creep wave blocks the safe camp pull, and then drag the creep wave back round to the tower. So they'll do all these very intricate, purposeful plays, or sentry ward blocks, etc. My view is I don't have an answer, and I don't think we need to worry about that question because it's omega, I think, niche. I mean, maybe there'll be an interesting answer, but I couldn't give it. Maybe this is like a 10k player asking us like when to do it, but if you're lower than 9k MMR, I'm sure it's not a priority. Not saying that it's not a question to consider, because any question is, but yeah, too niche for me. I would go for the Talk Shop Pos 4.
Okay, I'm in for Talk Shop Pos 4. Let me try and find this question. Have I got it here?
Did I ask the one question you weren't prepared for?
Oh, here it is, sorry. Talk Shop on Pos 4. Who are the best Pos 4 right now, and what are their jobs at what point? Which is, I mean, it's quite difficult to answer that, but I suppose we could talk about what Pos 4s are good at different points in the game. And if there are any best items for them, so I presume that's going to be specific based on the hero. So yeah, that would be the question basically. What are the best Pos 4s, and like at what point in the game are they good? Basically, why are they good? Do you have any favourite Pos 4s at the moment, Adam? I feel like the role's in an odd-ish place, but there are definitely some heroes that I can think of that are very irritating.
There's a one
No.
standout.
Weaver.
Hey, hey, there it
Diamond
is.
Me classic.
Hoodwink. I just play 5 as 4, so I'm not the one to ask about it.
What do you mean you
can't
play
Earth
5
Spirit.
as 4? You play Weaver 4.
Yeah, and that's not like a standard 4. Name
True,
a standard
yeah,
4, and
true.
I probably don't play it. I
True.
could probably play Tusk. I can play Tusk, and that's like it.
I think Tusk is a metaphor at the moment. I think you see him picked a lot, especially in pro games, and obviously they're going to use him better. It's not the same thing as playing in pubs. Marco, are you thinking of a hero similar to Weaver that scutters about, a bug hero?
Is Nyx a 4 in the meta, or is he a 5?
It's the 4.
It's the 4 and it's the 3, I feel like, as well. It's just both.
Yeah,
it's so
the
good.
hero's
It's
disgusting.
stupid. Absolutely gross hero at the moment. Nyx is bonkers.
It's got mad stats as well.
Good at all stages of the game, and only gets better.
Yeah.
It only gets better. I've not played. I feel like I've not laned against it. So, and I would imagine in the lane it is weak. And I've watched Fly and Crypt stream Nyx a few times, and in the first 10 minutes they're kind of doing. It's almost like Earthshake plays where they're not really doing much. They're going in somewhere for a stun, or they're doing a pull, or they're being a bit disruptive. Then they get the tome, and then from 10 minutes on, they're just being disruptive. But I don't know, it feels like they end up doing so much work. I don't know if it's a pub thing, but it feels like in pubs they somehow manage to get Meme Hammer, Yules, Agshard, and the damage potential is out of this world, and Nyx's spells are already fantastic, but with Vendetta speed and the Agshard damage feels even stronger, and it can just blow up a core. Stan had a game recently where he said this Nyx that had been griefing all game managed to 100 to 0 the enemy pos 1, and it's GG. No hero can do as much as a Nyx in the mid and late game as a 4.
Yeah. And this game that Marco talks about, that was with an X3, but the concept's the same. It's just the hero with Vendetta is just outputting crazy burst damage. Obviously, a lot of the stuff's the same. Spike Carapace can be a great spell in some games. It's incredible hard counter. Mana Burn also game specific, how good it is. But even just
It's
what
like-
the Nyx... Well, what the Nyx gives you with Vendetta Stun and Meme Hammer, and then later when you build into, if you want to go down the Dagon Shard route, you're literally 100 to 0ing heroes. Like, it's crazy. You think Tiny has good burst, and then you see Nyx Assassin solo kill a Juggernaut like 35 minutes into the game, just out of nowhere. A Nyx that's been griefing and not farming. You got to question what's going on. This hero's so good.
For reference, in the last couple patches, so Impale damage got ticked up, then 728 Vendetta got ticked up, cast time of Impale went down, which is obviously really big, because that's typical, used to be a hard spell to hit, or notoriously difficult, but obviously easier now. Then the Ag Shard, 1.4k gold to get immense value. It's one of the best Ag Shards, surely, in terms of you get movement speed on the Vendetta, and then you reduce magic resistance by 20 when you come out of it, and that there are 2 mega benefits for a 4 or a 3.
Yeah.
And then with the stronger spells, as mentioned, easier Impale. Yeah, you could even say meta is going to Nyx because there's quite a lot of int heroes. If you think about, I don't know, like a Puck, Void Spirit, OD, your Storms, your Tempo mids, it's not like you're seeing these snory strength heroes in the mid lane, say. I think you've got a very classical tempo mid lane meta, and Nyx is just loving it. Even the skirmish style. I mean, Nyx maybe wouldn't be great in the snowball meta, or the zoo meta, or the metas where the average game time was shorter, but at the moment, it feels like it fits really nicely.
Then he would just go Ags.
Yeah.
And then he could just be a turret on the high ground.
Yeah.
No, like his spells, like each one of them can completely nullify like a type of hero, and they're each separate. So he's got like, impale stuns are the best. Lion stun. You get the ravages from a Q. Okay, that's great. Mana burn completely annihilates anti-heroes and burns mana. But late game, why did that Invoker just take like 700 damage from a 4-second cooldown ability?
Yeah,
insane. And then Spike Carapace. Batrider, that hero doesn't exist. Anybody that leaves anything on the ground can't do anything. And now that you can do it from Invis, I think that's the big thing that just made it so obnoxious. Is like you can just sit and trail somebody and wait for them to do some AoE ability and just start off this gigantic stun combo. And then you have completely. The Vendetta for all the vision game, for all the break, and then late game unobstructed pathing. Jeez Louise. That's it's like every little quadrant of his kit does something completely separate.
And also, all the items are so good with him. So you can go Meme Hammer, obviously, first item if you want to. This on the 4. Or you can just go Dagon. You can go Tranquil Boots Dagon and then get a shard at 20, and you're going to have tons of impact. Obviously, Meme Hammer is probably the more standard, maybe safer, but I mean, we're talking about Nyx Assassin here. Whatever you do, you're going to be able to do it, safely have high impact. And even if you're not going Dagon, the shard I still think is way worth it. Because the way the hero works, inherently, you're trying to nuke the hero you hit out of Vendetta. So even if you've got a +1, 20 magic resistance reduction is going to be super value, because you're no doubt following up with your Impale and your Mana Burn anyway, which is going to be both buffed up by the magic resistance reduction. So the hero's in a great spot.
For reference to Adam and listeners, in the EU DPC, Nyx is the highest picked hero and the 4th highest banned, and together it's got the most pick plus ban. So it's clearly riding that meta, and it's been trickling down into pubs where its pick rate's about 20%, win rate 54 to 55, which for that higher pick rate is really strong.
Yeah, for that high a pick rate and for a hero that isn't widely played outside of this meta right now because it's so strong. It's not like when, I don't know, Lena or Windranger or even Puck is suddenly strong. There's loads of people that play that hero. Nyx is not a highly played hero outside of right now, you know what I mean? So all these people that are picking it don't really have that much experience on the hero, I feel like, in pubs when you're seeing it with a 15% pick rate. So that just shows how easy it is to play the hero, I think. Yeah. Any other POS 4s that we want to name check outside of Nyx Assassin? We mentioned the Tusk.
Earth Spirit.
Yes, Spirit.
Yeah, Earth Spirit's around a lot. You're seeing more
shame because it's very difficult.
Well. Yeah, not recommended.
Yeah. In pubs, Pudge, let's go, and Bounty Hunter overpicked POS 4s. And then I think Shaman you see as well, a fair bit.
Nature's Prophet.
Bounty Hunter? Where does this come from?
You see Bounty 4 all the time. I see Bounty 4 all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guilty.
Yeah.
Guilty of picking it.
Sounds old school. I remember playing a Bounty 4 a couple of times when it was hot sauce in the ranked meta many years ago. But I feel like now that would... Not sure.
Yeah, I think Spirit Breaker's another 4 that's I'm seeing more and more, and that I think is pretty decent. A 52% win rate in Divine Plus, and we've all played against Spirit Breakers that have sort of popped off a bit and felt very difficult to deal with. I suppose it's similar to the Nyx in the sense that when these squishy int tempo heroes are in the meta a lot, Spirit Breaker becomes better because that roaming potential, that potential to catch mobile heroes, and the global presence, playing around vision, people showing in the lane. So maybe that's why Spirit Breaker's seeing a bit more success at the moment. Let's have a peek then at this question about picking, because it sort of ties into the POS 4 a little bit. We've got a question here, and I'll give the name of the person that asked it in a second. Not really a question, but drafting as a support, since they changed the picking style, no longer do you get any info on the enemy team, and usually no info on what your cores will pick. Playing POS 4 in particular, this means you aren't as likely to get synergy. You can't pick non-metaphors. Just a thought. And then another question is, when playing 4, or support in general, when do you build small item components like Tranquil Boots, Windlace, Wand, Raindrops, etc.? Or when do you rush for your first proper item? And I'm thinking there, Glimmer Cape or Force Staff or wherever it may be. Marco, what's your thoughts on either of those questions? I know one of those words in there makes you excited.
What, the Tranquil Boots or the Windlace? The
Windlace, yeah.
Yeah. Do love a Windlace. Ursa Windlace. Whoa. It was good. The picking one, so if you're a POS 4, I mean, I guess you are typically picking first phase. Yes, you don't see anything on the enemy. I mean, yeah, not really as likely to get synergy.
It says you can't really pick non-metaphors. I don't think that's the case. I just think you might want to not pick 4s that rely on synergy. Yeah, that doesn't mean non-meta.
I think 4's always had the most freedom. Or this is definitely debatable, but I do feel like in a pub setting, or definitely in a party setting, the POS 4 player could choose anything they want and get the least resistance or eyebrow raise or pushback. Because I feel like the POS 4 just does what the POS 4 wants to do. And then, if there is synergy, great. If there's not, I feel like it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't really know what non-metaphor hero is Bake Dis, which is where the question's from. What non-metaphor hero does he want to pick but can't because of synergy issues, I wonder.
I feel like...
Weaver.
Yeah, I mean, Weaver's not that bad. To me, it would be worse to pick a grief hero. Non-meta doesn't equal grief. Like Weaver say, I'm going to give Adam some credit and say, yeah, he's not griefing. I think, say, I'm going to pick POS 4 Chen or POS 4 Anti-Mage would be a grief, as well as non-meta. So, I think there's no limitation to being forced to pick meta heroes. Yeah. It's just...
But they've changed the picking. I mean, Chen and Anti-Mage 4 is just a grief no matter what. I think maybe in the past, your POS 5 picks first, and then you pick... Usually, one team picks their 5, the other team picks their 4 and 5, then the other team picks their 4 and 3. That's how it went. So I guess you now just see absolutely nothing. It's interesting because this is a symptom of all the picks. So when you're picking mid, you don't see what the enemy mid is. So it's just more random all round, I feel like.
But even back in the day, how much were you picking your 4 in response to another hero? Because, the reason the picks mechanic has changed to what it is because of the 1 and 2, primarily. So you can't just get these cheesy last picks that are too not broken, but imbalance the game. I don't really think you're ever picking a 4. Maybe Rubik into Enigma, but the pro scene first picks Rubik all the time. The pub first pick Rubik all the time. Like, I don't think 4s have ever been picked as a counter or I need to see the enemy heroes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think that's a fair assessment. Go and pick your non-metaphors. I think it's okay.
Pick a non-metaphor. Don't pick a grief anti-mage 4. But by all means, pick a non-metaphor, I think. I think
don't
it also
pick a
helps.
core that you're just going to farm from the 4. Like
Weaver.
Weaver is good with gold, but Weaver is also good with different item builds. So, pick...
Yeah. I would encourage non-metaphors.
Yeah, I would encourage experimentation. And the only reason why you normally pick 5s and 4s first is because they can stand on their own and don't necessarily have that much of an impact on the core picks, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's
of
important.
Of course, you can counter them, but it's like you pick something that's like solid no matter what your team picks, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It's more important to have a position 1, say, that matches up well. The POS 1 matchup's the most important matchup because a lot of the game is allowing your POS 1 to reach a point where they can carry the game, right? Where they can go against the enemy POS 1, the enemy POS 2, whatever it may be. And so it's much easier to achieve that picking your 1 later when you know what you're going to be up against at that point in the game, rather than picking some random 1 that's going to be countered and then picking a 5 that is really good at making sure the 1 has like a great first 15 minutes. Because it doesn't really matter that much if the 1 has a great first 15 minutes if it gets to 25 and the hero is just hard countered by the enemy 1. So
yeah.
There's obviously, that's not a rule. There's no, absolute rules in Dota. It's not like pro teams never last pick their 5. They do sometimes.
Yeah.
But just in general.
Also, on the synergy point, I don't think the 4 ever synergizes much with the 1 or the 2. Really. If there's synergy with the 4, on average, it'll typically be with your 3.
Yeah.
And so, going back to the communication points of last episode, I think, personally, from experience whenever playing 3, if your POS 4 fades what they're going to pick straight away and can also put in chat X and Y or good picks because they'll synergize with you, I think that's really helpful for your teammate to nudge them into what's a good pick. Like, say you're a Tusk and you're going to go Tusk 4. I know that's meta, but you can then nudge the 3 in the chat by going pick. I don't know what 3s are. I've not done 3 in ages, but pick a Wind Ranger. I don't know. Maybe that's 3.
Oh god,
that is a good combo. Liquid run that combo a lot.
What's
Wind Ranger
combo?
and Tusk.
Oh,
Wind
right.
Ranger Tusk because
Sure.
you get the tag team, but you get my point. You can play a 4 and nudge your POS 3 into a good pick or a synergistic pick. But yeah, I don't think the POS 4 will ever really need to synergize with the 1 or 2. So yeah. It's cool.
The second part of the question then, when playing support, small item components versus first item. Adam, how do you see this one? Is it game dependent, or is it pretty standard that you've got a stick, tick, you've got boots, tick, now you're looking at your first, or maybe windlace, tick, now you're looking at your first major item? Or do you think that you can do a bit more fooling around with smaller components? And if so, like, which ones are good, basically? Like, which ones would you consider?
I kind of think of the smaller components as items. As the bigger items.
Right, because they're so important.
Not every time do I go a stick in the lane. It just depends. I'd say, like, a lot of the time you go a stick in the lane. But if I'm playing Crystal Maiden, I'm definitely thinking whether or not I need to bring out a salve for the carry, and then boots, windlace, tranquil finish, then another windlace, because movement speed is so important on her. But I don't even think about stuff like Glimmer Cape or anything.
4 staff, so
Yeah, drum. You can't think that far ahead.
Yeah.
At least with a 5. With a 4, maybe you map out your first item. Something like, with a good build-up though, something like an urn or medallion or, mini pieces. Not something with like the big 1,400 gold components right off the bat.
Right, yeah. When you say that, do you mean basically that when you play 5, you're mostly focusing on like the here and now? You're not thinking, I'm 1,500 gold off my Glimmer Cape, I'm 1,000 gold off my 4 staff, so I won't buy things that would be good right now, like a salve or stuff for my carry or the windlace that on top of my tranquils. You're sort of thinking about what you need right now and less worried about item progression. It just sort of happens if you have the right amount of gold. Because I feel like a lot of supports in lower ranks
generally
will
look down.
Plan.
I look down periodically, see how much gold I have, and what can I buy at this time with that amount of gold. Is it like just a sentry and a mango? Or if I have 250, I'm like, okay, I get the windlace now. The big thing is get the boots. Sometimes boots and wand is like the most important part. Other times, boots and windlace or tranquils. And it is different if you have, if you get the first blood. That's a big windfall for support. But it's definitely like when we were against that Coddle today, and he had like tranquil boots right at the beginning of the lane. It's like, oh, I will never catch this guy ever. I will never techie suicide on this guy ever because he's a million move speed.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, but that's what I'm not trying to save up any gold. I'm looking down and buying what I can at the time. Because generally that keeps you alive longer, and if you stay alive longer, you get more gold in the long run. So any little bit that keeps you alive currently goes a long way to letting you get the bigger items later.
I think looking at it in this step by step way, like you say, Stan, definitely is the case for the 5 versus, say, the other end of the spectrum is the one who goes, I'm looking ahead to X, then ahead to Y. I think then in the step by step as you go through the game, at least when I play a 5, I've got 2 themes in mind or 2 questions in mind of, first, at the start of the game or at the horn, you're going to have an idea of what items are good for you as a support this game. You've got a 4-staff to consider, a Glimmer Cape to consider, an Aether Lens to consider, maybe sometimes Yules at a push, but not sure, Medallion to consider. These are probably your most core support items, your pool of items, and so naturally there's going to be some preferred one given the game, given the heroes. And then the second question to consider as the game goes, and this is very much that minute by minute approach of just how is the game going? Are you in need of items right now to survive? Do you need the braces right now to survive? Or do you have space? Do you have excess gold because of a kill secure, perhaps, where you can look ahead to that first bigger item? So it's definitely not a case of you start minute 0 and you always will go in the same path. I think POS 5 is definitely the role where there's going to be the most left turn, right turns and deviations from your initial path because of how the game state progresses. Some heroes like a Bane, if I play a Bane, I'm always pretty much getting arcane or boots, stick, arcanes, Aether Lens. I can't remember playing a game where I bothered to get braces on Bane, largely because naturally it's a healthy, beefy hero. You don't really need that extra protection. If anything, for my Bane game, it's can I afford to get to the Aether Lens, or am I too poor and the game's too hard, and I'm actually stuck at, say, a brown boots stick and have to get the Glimmer for protection and then kind of rush in inverted commas, rush into the Glimmer because we need that defensive angle and we're under pressure. So for Bane, say, 2 paths. If I'm thinking Crystal Maiden, I think there's definitely more paths, like the double bracer or the single bracer, the stick. Do you get the wand? Do you get the tranks into Windlace? Do you just get the tranks? Do you go drums for some reason? Do you go the medallion for some reason? Do you have to get the 4-staff? Do you need to get the Glimmer? There is a lot more kind of branches, but it's really going to depend on what the 5 heroes are and how your game's going. Like Adam says, what's your current gold state now? Like if you're going to take 10 minutes to get a Glimmer, or 15 minutes, and so you're only going to get it at minute 20, I mean, that what's it called? The amulet, shadow amulet or something. That's a big investment for a POS 5, and if you could have got just a couple braces and a wand progressed in that duration
or
instead,
the cloak,
or just the cloak and then some braces instead, that could add way more value, because like Adam says, if you're surviving, that's gold XP. If you're dying, it's the opposite. So a lot of little adjustments to be made as you play.
Yeah, that's fair. When I play support, I'm just thinking about what's the quickest way I can get to my voodoo switcheroo. So maybe I need to adjust.
You're there.
Wait till 20 minutes. Don't buy anything.
Yeah. How can I
Passive
make time
gold
go
should get
faster?
you to 14.
Yeah, let's go. Voodoo switcheroo time. Yeah. Let's maybe take a second to talk about map movements on POS 3 then. I need to come up with some... Well, go on.
Can I just inject before we move past?
Absolutely,
support?
please.
Something that has been on my mind about the POS 5 in particular. I'm flabbergasted at the ability of pub players to buy observer wards, buy sentries, and then place observer wards and place sentries. I am absolutely flabbergasted. You ask someone on the street who's never played DotA and has never even sat on a computer game and say to them, what should a POS 5 DotA player buy? They'll tell you they should buy wards and obs.
They'll say wards, yeah.
I mean, it is universal knowledge. Yet, when you come to playing the game, and so I had an experience where I was playing ranked, and I think this guy must have been off-rolled and farming a Q token, because at one point in the game, our POS 5 Raster, already a bit questionable, had 4 observer wards in his or her inventory and 6 sentries. And I'm just like, how is it possible that you've accumulated this many wards without placing them on the map? Yeah, you kept dying, but how can you not even place them before you die? Why is the 4 wards in your backpack? This is meant to be a really good level Dota, and you what? Like, mind blown. And
there's some times where you're trying so hard to walk out somewhere where a ward would be like decent, and you just get killed every time.
But that's only part 2. Part 1 is when they're in the shop and like, if I see 2 wards in the shop, like, whoa, bloody like pulse is going
They're free.
up. They are free. Like, how are they in the shop? It is,
and
incredible.
Everyone has a courier. The mid should never be like, "Where's my 7-minute ward?" ever again.
Oh yeah, I'm
buy that himself.
I'm buying wards all the time in party games because there's just like a million available. But then it is annoying later in the game when you don't have the slots, etc. It's the 5 and 4. Yeah. They have slots. Just slap wards down. Like, it should be your top priority. I don't understand.
Yeah, just to also a very similar point that I have about sentries in particular. In lower ranks, particularly, supports don't buy sentries, a quarter of as much as they should, because they cost gold, and everyone wants to get that item that helps their game, not some consumable that you're going to put down on the map and maybe not get anything and just move on with your life. But there's a reason why there's a limit to the number of sentries you can buy. It's because they're the most OP, underpriced item in the game, and they're always going to be out of stock in pro games pretty much. I watched a couple of replays this week of games that I played earlier in the week, just to sort of review them and whatever, just take a peek. It's unbelievable how much vision dictates what happens in a game. You don't realise it when you play. Obviously, you see, if you have a great ward and you see the enemies, oh, we should fight. That ward won us that fight. Man, that's so great that we placed that obs ward. And people in lower ranks and people, and everyone, that's obvious, right? Because your obs wards win you the game. The bit that you don't realise is that your own sentry wards, de-warding their wards, does the exact same thing. It wins you the game, like it's just as game winning. And I say that because in this game in particular, there was a movement that almost lost us the game. And this is a crazy back and forth game that went on for like an hour. And I went back to look at what went wrong. And what went wrong was just that we smoked under an obs ward and then moved into an area near Roche. The smoke popped and we were all under a ward. And this seemingly unlosable situation was lost because the enemies were perfectly prepared. They TP'd in advance. They were like ready. And when you play the game, you don't realise. You just think, oh, fight went bad. Oh, that sucks. You don't think that, maybe like better players than me do think at the time, oh, they must have seen us, we need to de-ward this, we need to do that. And it's crazy how game winning wards are and how game-winning sentry wards are when you deward. Like, dewarding is the most impact you can possibly have, like on any hero, pretty much on a support, on anything. Like, it's so game-winning. The later the game goes on, vision is just like everything, pretty much.
On continuing this vision of
by sentry wards.
Point,
sorry, go on.
Yeah, by sentry wards, by odds, but going to that point about how POS 5's the hardest position to play and how many POS 5s... well, I mean, that used to be an ethos a good few years ago. I don't know where the views are now, but there definitely was a time, like 5 years ago, say, where the game's still being solved, and there was, I feel, a lot of attention around actually the POS 5 is the hardest to play, and you saw these captains like Kuroki and Puppy like really start being put on pedestals. Where I think like prior to that you'd have this just all the attention on the Yaptez Shadow Fiend mid blinks kind of stuff.
Right, yeah.
So anyway, the 5 is definitely going to be more appreciated in today's game. Having said that, it is the hard role still, and I think a lot of value on insight and knowledge comes from playing other roles, in particular the 1 and 2 and even 3. It's a point I've mentioned before. If I'm a 1, and I know what I want the POS 5 to do, so when I'm then the POS 5, I know what the POS 1 wants me to do. This kind of thing. Going then to vision, and not just general wards, but in fights, and being prepared to take a fight, and to have the wards and sentries, because a fight's going to pan out in the next few minutes, is so valuable, but most POS 5s don't really kind of think about it. And actually in a fight, if you're a 5 and you can put down just random vision, like we do all the time in party games, we're pushing high ground, put a ward underneath the tower. It's like goes against your intuition, but put it under the tower, or you push in a tier 2 tower, let's say in the mid, and it's nighttime. Who cares if the ward is going to get dewarded? Put it down, because in the fight, that vision is everything. And it's then similar with sentries. Just put the sentry down in the fight. It's likely going to do massive work if there's a glimmer or an invis hero. But I feel like lots of 5s, like, they're not in tune with that. Maybe because they haven't played core. But it just comes back to this whole point of wards and sentries and vision, and it wins games. So you've got to use the consumables to get value out of them, so use the consumables.
Yeah, use consumables. New Meta Podcast approved advice for the masses. Use consumables.
Be a
next
consumer.
Week, use salves. Yeah, be a consumer, exactly, yeah.
Be a consumer, yeah. I've just, there's been too many times recently where I've been like, fucking too many wards in this shop. This is not acceptable. Yeah.
Well, let's pivot from what has been described as the hardest role to play to the easiest role to play, position 3. Yeah, you can eat it. Position 3 players out there, offlaners. Adam, movements on a POS 3 post-laning stage. What's going on? We talked about how the POS 4 has a lot of license. How does that compare to the POS 3 post-laning? Because you're not a 1, you're not hard farming. Usually, this is in your average pub. You're not really a 2, so you're not really expected to be tempo, high nuking damage hero, if you take, our traditional POS 2s. What's the 3? What's the 3 meant to do? What's the traditionally? I mean, it's a very difficult question to answer, so I appreciate that, but what's going on? What's the 3 doing post laning stage usually?
Shoving waves.
Yeah, good start.
Shove waves in the dangerous area. Probably should take the most dangerous farm, so that your other people can farm the easier stuff. And then once you have stuff shoved, the wave's like a walking ward. Somebody's going to come and have to push it out. And you either use the info that someone's coming to push it out to ambush and kill that person, or you use the info that maybe they've TP'd in or they've rotated through to go set up a gank on the other side of the map or somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Or
it's interesting.
It just depends on who you are. Are you Mars? Are you Centaur Warrunner? Are you Darkseer?
Yeah.
All is kind of like different. Like, you know, I don't think Darkseer, he's not a big ganker. He's more like, I guess you can TP in and counter initiate with a vacuum or something, but like,
I feel like you don't have to be a ganker as well, though. Yeah, Darkseer's not going to gank anyone in the conventional use of the term, where it's like you're coming out of nowhere, it's unexpected, and it happens all of a sudden. What I think,
you could have someone set up behind you, and they don't see them
behind the Darkseer. I mean?
Yeah, you got the Darkseer showing, and then coordinate behind that, so you don't have to go. You know, you don't have to surge up to anyone and do it, or buy a blink or anything. It's just the fact that you're creating pressure.
Yes, create pressure, that's a great one. Shoving lanes does that. Farming the most dangerous part of the map does that. Knocking on towers, if you can, does that, because it forces an enemy to rotate and often to TP. And if someone TPs, that's mega information. You now know they can't get to the opposite side of the map. So forcing TPs is major value. But also, in terms of creating pressure, you don't have to be a ganker, but you can still lead initiations, or not initiations, but lead the charge. And I feel like POS 3s too often are quite scaredy cats, and they play like they're the one who should be rocking up a bit later to the fight and playing a bit too softly. Whereas I feel like the POS 3, in conjunction with the POS 2, if they're a kind of a tempo 2, really should be at the front of the charge. And I think it also ties in nicely as well with, if you're taking the most dangerous farm, that naturally will mean you're in the most kind of aggressive head on the, like, neck out the position, in which case you can make something happen because you're in those dangerous parts of the game. If you're taking safer farm, you're not going to be in a position to make a play happen, or to make a charge happen, or to put pressure on the map, by virtue of the fact you're in a safe, deep position. So, to me, they go hand in hand, and they very much go towards making pressure, and just making things happen. I think POS 3s are far too passive sometimes. If I think about, I was looking at my match history just then, I'm like, has there been an impressive POS 3 in any of these matches? Fucking no. Literally never. Like, when I'm playing these POS 1s, we had that Sanking, who was like 115 or something. Just, what? How is that possible? The Ursa game, when we got that CK who's useless. Looking at my Void Spirit wins from the mid, I got these like, just not no impact, but these POS 3s getting fucking carried every game, and it's like, what is the state of these POS 3s? Like, can someone not do something and create pressure, or create a move, or just do something? I don't get it. What's going on with POS 3s? Crisis?
Yeah. A lot of people traditionally think of POS 3s, and POS 3s probably think this about themselves, as, you know, this cool hipster dude that can, like, create loads of pressure and, like, mess around and, like, destroy the carries game, be this, like, annoying hero on the map. And that is what you're meant to be. Yeah, like a Timbersaw that's, like, crushing the game, and just this pain, just a pain. The POS 3 just wants to be like a pain. And what you're describing is they're not being enough of a pain oftentimes, and that is what they should be. But too often they're not, you know, too often, and I totally agree, too often you see these 3s that think they're the one, and it can be very detrimental.
I've definitely made Marco upset before.
Oh god, yeah.
With my Centaur, especially my Centaur. That's like a specific hero that I just want to, like, farm and shove so hard, and, like, not ever, like, I'll give you the Stampede, and that's it. Like, don't expect me to come around until I have 2 aura items, and then I'll get the Blink Dagger, and you'll be happy to see me.
And some of these heroes, yeah, some of these heroes you have to do this with. I'm just thinking of Underlord, my resident POS 3, my best friend in the offlane. You have to shove waves with your Q, you have to take the aggressive farm, you have to be in the advanced position, or else your hero's kind of useless otherwise. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're not picking Underlord to AFK in your jungle, because then you'd rather be a Medusa. That's the thing that always gets me, is that it's almost even more triggering when people pick a hero that's clearly not a POS 1, like an Underlord, although Marco, you know, has been known to dabble with a Battle Fury, but let's put that to one side. A hero that's clearly a 3, like a Batrider, Underlord, like I said, or all these other ones, whatever. You could pick a Timbersaw, anything. And then they play AFK like they're the one, and I just feel like pick Medusa if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
and then R1 can pick some whatever, like Bloodseeker, Ember that's, a bit more tempo-y or whatever, or even just some one that's a 3. Just play a POS 1, whatever, Timber, CK, doesn't matter. But I feel like to get these heroes' kits to even work, you have to play very aggressively. I'm always looking to, just queue a wave in a very advanced position when I'm playing Underlord. And I'm by no means a good Underlord player in the grand scheme of things. It's just, I think, like you say, you have to be that pain, because ultimately you've got third farm priority and you need to make use of it. You can't just AFK and do nothing with it because you've got a POS 1 doing that. And so their POS 3 is going to basically end your chances of having 2 heroes, or even 3 in some games, just farming safely.
Yeah. There's going to be so many games that were lost in the pub world because 2 of the 3 cores were playing too farm intensive. And so they have this then imbalanced team that just...
Sorry to interrupt you, but it's also, just to labour the point, it's not even too farm intensive. It's like we've said before, it's not the fact you're hitting creeps, it's like where you're hitting them. Because another pitfall is to not farm on the 3. So when I asked Adam the question originally, he was like, push waves, take advanced farm. It's like, when we say, be a pain, it doesn't mean sacrifice your CS and run at heroes to chase the POS 1 out of the jungle. Yeah. It just means don't take deep jungle farm, take like aggro farm. Do you know what I mean? I just thought it'd worth throwing that in.
Yeah, and don't I don't want to say never, because the game is not a game of absolutes, but 100% of the time, the lane wave is better than the jungle.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of I'm thinking of like a Radiant Offlane, and you're any other position, and you look and see where your 3 is, and he's in your ancient triangle, like taking that way, taking the hard camp or something. And you're like, no, that's not it. You need to be in the dire side of the map. Like that area is for your carry to rotate through the ancient triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. To pick up on one of your points as well, I hate it when there's too much headless chicken. Like, I have to be so aggressive and I have to hunt that gank and kill that POS 1. Oh, is that Craig?
Doesn't matter.
It's Craig.
Craig's going to be so messed up anyway, because a lot of this Discord audio has been a bit glitchy. So it's fine. Ignore Craig. We're done with him.
We're done. But yeah, I hate it when there's a 3 that's too aggressive, too headless chicken, chasing that gank, and like you say, not farming, because they've got eyes not but for the enemy POS 1. Craig bloody knocked me. So the point I was thinking is that when the POS 3's doing that, they're almost thinking too... what's the phrase? Like, it's the right thing to do, but you need to do the preliminary shove creep waves, and you need the conditions to be right before you then make that aggressive move, or that I'm going to make a gank or make a play or make a jump. You need to get the team in the right place, and you need the creeps in the right place, and you need the wards or the vision in a relatively correct place before you can then make such a big step. And I think often POS 3s, if they're on this hyper train, they won't consider those preliminaries, and they'll just be too hectic and they won't get the farm. They probably won't execute what they tried to do because the game state was unfavourable. Even if they did execute it, it doesn't matter if the creeps aren't shoved and you can't get an objective. Even if they did execute it, it's probably less gold efficient than if you'd shoved out the creep waves and then made the play happen. So yeah, you can definitely be too aggro, and then you can definitely be too soft where you like start playing as one of the supports. That probably doesn't happen that often, but I've seen it happen before where the POS 3 is like super soft and tame and isn't trying to make plays happen, and it's kind of playing to lose, but yeah.
I think that's fair. Craig, for all of the listeners, because I feel like I'm not even going to bother editing this out because I want to get the Craig memes rolling. Craig is the robot, the Discord bot that records us, but not anymore, because now we've finally not discovered but utilised Audacity, because Craig's fallen apart, really. This bot that we once relied on for 115 episodes to diligently record in the background now just breaks and creates awful audio quality, and I don't know what's going on, but desperate times call for desperate measures and call for Audacity, so that's the new lifestyle. Craig is gone. Rip Craig. Final question before we wrap up, and this is just not a big one, but what hero... Actually, God, this is too big of a question. Let's leave it on a cliffhanger. Let's leave it on a cliffhanger for the intro for next week of what position players are like the most annoying in terms of a stereotype. If you stereotype your average POS 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I wonder what our thoughts are on that, because I feel like I have somewhat of a solid notion of the kind of people that play each position, and the community does as well, because you see the memes on Reddit and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll leave the listeners on a cliffhanger then. Smiley face, I'm sure. Well, ready to be triggered next week, maybe, when what we say is nothing like their position. When we're guaranteed to insult every single listener next week. Yeah. So that's always good.
Is it not just whatever position Marco's playing in the game?
Is what the most annoying position?
Yeah,
I think so.
So that's the one that whatever one who Marco buys back.
Well, it sounds like that's bad for
indiscriminate.
Me,
that's any position.
I can't do that because of this bloody Overwatch system.
Yeah, I can just say griefing, and it'll say, when did this happen? And I'll say, just now. Just now. Mark it down as timestamp.
Yeah, you got to be on
30 seconds into the game, he buys back after first blood.
That's the best time for me to buy back.
Impact-wise.
Yeah, like least negative impact.
Yeah, at least
on the
impact.
Overwatch thing, I thought I had. So MC Mind Control does all this toxic stuff that comes to the front page of Reddit. The next day, Overwatch gets released. But then, for the last 2 weeks, everyone's been complaining about the badge. You can't see people's stars and percentages.
I still can't see it.
Which is really... No, not you Immortal Ivory Tower people. The normal people with stars above the badge, or percentage at the bottom of the badge, the client UI is overlaying and you can't see it. And it's been on the front... I see it every day on Reddit for the last 2 weeks or something. And they've not been able to fix it.
It is, you can't see it for me either. You've got to hover over it to see how many stars I have. I can't see the star above my divine, and I also can't see the percentage, because, like you say, the UI is in the way. It's so dumb. I can see the top of the percentage, I can see the top of the numbers, but I can't see the whole number.
How can they not patch so dumb, that in a day? And they release Overwatch, like, overnight.
I don't know what they do at Valve. I don't know. I guess they just watch DPC because it's on 24/7 now. Literally, I've never been in client when DPC isn't live. So, yeah. Well, yeah. Join us again next week when it doesn't look like we have any more questions to answer. So, a normal episode awaits, I suppose, whatever that means. We'll have to decide. Until then, have a final whistle, stay safe, don't pick Rubik off lane, and win some games.
Doing the Lord's work.